So we have now some time for questions. So I encourage attendees to drop them in the chat of the Teams webinar if they have questions. I have I have one for Sophia, and regarding the work that you've done in Kaleidos and how it can complement this the work that is already happening in the EU framework. How do you think it can be translated into the reality of the universities? How can we actually use this information to enhance the systemic view that we're trying to enhance for knowledge valorization?
Yeah, I think that as Maria also mentioned before, it's important to acknowledge that the frameworks that we have currently on skills for research managers and researchers are very extensive, and they provide a lot of different skills that researchers and research managers can have. But that doesn't mean that all of them have to like really have a proficiency level of all of them, but they really need to like focus on the ones that are very important for their own work. And this is why we did this exercise, to really try to come to a lower amount of skills that are really relevant for researchers that really want to have an impact on society, and the research managers who are working together with these researchers to be able to achieve that. So we think that this work is more manageable for universities and other organizations to be able to do to create training programs, as we also did in Kaleidos after this work, focusing on specifically the skills that that we identified, for example, that needed to be improved. So this is something that I think other organizations can work on. And of course, as I also mentioned, the tools that the European Commission and also the projects that are working on these aspects can contribute and make easier everything. Because if we also have now the self-assessment tools, then it will be much easier for the different groups of people to identify really what they need to work on, and also for the university to really respond to this demand of training or any other kinds of activities that need to be implemented to be able to really cover the needs of both researchers and research managers.
Thank you, Sophia. I also have a question for Maria, if possible. A lot of effort has been put into the definition of these comms, the research comm and the RM comm, and you are updating them. What are the next steps in terms of keeping them alive and used across Europe, and how you envision the future usage of these tools that you have that the European Commission has developed with the collaboration of many?
Thank you for the question. It's really pertinent, and it's probably what intuitively kind of comes to mind after hearing what we have developed. I think I kind of gave you a preview of some of the elements that we're working on. I mean, of course, after we have developed the self-assessment tool, I mean, first of all, I want to say that we always try to address the points that stakeholders raise, either when we present the frameworks at webinars just like this one, or in our conversations with stakeholders, in our meetings. I mean, I very, very briefly mentioned that we have this ERA policy agenda. It is basically a list of actions and policies that we have developed in collaboration with also member state and stakeholders. So we have these fora that we use to work with member state representatives and representatives of stakeholders. So there's one, for example, on research careers, and Research Comp was developed as a tool under this research careers action, because member states and stakeholders kind of raised the point that it would have been useful to have a framework. So that is the first thing. We really always try to consult with stakeholders and with member states and with actually the users of this framework to kind of to understand what they would need and then we develop what we think it's also relevant for them. So first, after developing the self-assessment tool, I mean, you have the results. That's already very good. You can identify what are your strengths, what are your gaps. But then, of course, the intuitive thing to think about is, okay, but how can I fill the gaps that I have identified, or how can I move on to the next level? So this is why also with the projects that are using research comp in their work, we're kind of developing these careers pathways. I mean, now it's the definition is still kind of ongoing, but for now it's called Career Development Companion Toolkit. So basically to associate the results of the self-assessment tool with trainings, existing coaching, existing programs, and a personalized path to see what careers match with the results of the self-assessment tool and what can be done to fill in the gaps. A next step, also based on this reasoning, would be to use either integrate the results in Europass, so the platform that we use to develop CVs, or Euraxis, which is a platform that includes a lot of different job vacancies, and maybe to kind of be able to filter these job vacancies using the competencies of Research Comp or some other criteria that relate to the results of Research Comp. And then, of course, I mean, another thing that is always really important, not only to develop the next steps, but also to see if the research comp is useful and R comp are useful or not, is to keep on checking with stakeholders, universities, employers, researchers, how they are using it, to see whether, I mean, Sophia has given very nice examples here, but I mean, it doesn't need to be used also as it is. It can be, you see, Politecnico di Torino, they already have done their self-assessment tool before us, but they're using the same words. They're using the same definition. So this is important to establish a community that uses a shared language and that it can be useful. So I think that, I mean, the key is keep on having these conversations and the discussions, and to make sure that whatever we do, it's useful. It's not just an exercise of, keeping the framework going. It's for the users, let's say.
I was muted. So thank you very much to both of you. I think the session was very enriching and very informative, and I hope viewers have a lot of insights from it. We do not have further questions, so I really thank you both for joining and presenting all this, and I hope to see all attendees. Oh, sorry, there's a question on the chat. I cannot see it. Maybe Ada, can you just drop it? I cannot see it on the chat. Let's see if I can find the question to drop it before we conclude. Yeah. There's a question for Sophia about the survey and the questionnaire, and it's what was the most surprising result that you obtained in the information that you gathered from stakeholders? What was the outcome that you did not expect?
Yeah, actually, I think that the most surprising thing that happened was that we really could see this shared language that Maria was talking about, because we could most of the time relate the additional skills that the stakeholders were proposing with existing frameworks that the European Commission had already developed. So this was something that we didn't expect, because we didn't think about that before. So we thought, okay, the skills, the most relevant skills for researchers and research managers are in their frameworks. So we didn't look at the others for the development of the survey. But then we had some suggestions from the stakeholders on adding skills, and then we saw that they were similar words to the ones that are in the other frameworks. So this was surprising and very insightful as well. And also the other insightful thing that we could see in the results was the complementarity among the relevant skills that were highlighted for researchers and the relevant skills that were highlighted for research managers, which were very much connected and jointly can then have a much broader impact.
Indeed, I think one of the key outcomes is that working together, research managers and researchers can have a much greater impact, and they have really a lot of areas of complementarity and shared understanding. Sometimes that's something that we tend to forget, but it's true that with this kind of information and insights coming from the project, it's something that we can reinforce and reiterate. So yeah, I think now we have addressed all questions. So thank you both for joining. Thank you very much to the attendees to the webinar. I hope, as I said, that it was an enriching and informative session. You will have the recordings online if you want to go back to them and to see the presentations again. And see you at the next webinar. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.